The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Well, welcome to Chic, Chattin with, I'm Karen Testerman, your host, and I'm so glad to have you join me today. Don't forget that on February 11th is voting day, and so be sure you go and cast your vote. This is a Republican and a Democrat primary. Today, I'm so honored to have with me Kirk Jonah of the Jack Jonah Foundation. And I will let Kirk actually tell us a little bit about his story. So welcome to the Karen Testerman.
Thank you.
Actually, it's the Chic Chattin show with Karen Testerman.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, glad to have you here.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little about why I'm here and what I do. So again, my name's Kirk Jonah, and my son Jack passed away on April 6, 2016. Of an accidental heroin overdose in his bedroom, and that would be 3 years and 10 months ago.
Wow.
His heroin use was a complete surprise to our family. Jack went to school on time. He went to work on time. He was Dean's List in college. He worked at Boston Road Animal Hospital, where he assisted with surgeries of animals. He would be in with the surgeons, and then he would be with the animals as they came out of the surgery.
So he was in college when he passed away?
Yes, he was. Yep.
Okay.
He was a great artist. Jack played the organ in church. He played the piano. He played the guitar. He wrote music. He really kind of moved towards art, and we have beautiful art pieces that he's done, and he was really going in a great direction. And I can say it was a surprise because the January timeframe prior to his passing, Jack spent the 5 weeks. My son was home, other son was home from college, and my daughter is younger. She was home, and the three of them would be together every night up in a guest room we have, and they would spend every night together. Jack playing, Dan doing his thing, Carly singing. They were very, very close. They didn't see it. The Sunday before he passed on a Wednesday, he spent the entire morning and afternoon with my brother, who was terminally ill, and my brother didn't see it. He spent time with an individual who was a recovered heroin addict, a good 20 minutes, and he didn't see it. He hit it well. And
Had he been using for a while then?
We were told he has not. It was a fairly early onset, and I can talk to you what kind of happens with heroin. As I've been going on this journey, so many individuals have come to me and shared their stories with me. Right. And I'll be happy to share any of those with you as I go through this. So his was we were completely surprised. The night before he passed, he and I chatted, had a normal chat at night, 10 o'clock. He said, "I love you, Dad. I love you." He always hugged me. And he went upstairs and he put a needle in his arm. And the next morning, he doesn't go to school on Wednesday till a little bit later. I get a phone call from a police officer, a good friend of mine. "Hey, Kirk, can you get home?" I said, "Sure." I'm thinking my alarm went off and I had to get home. And I get there, and I'm not allowed anywhere other than a certain area because it's quarantined off. And he told me.
So you had when you arrived, there were the yellow.
They had police officers at both sets of the stairs, and I was not allowed to go upstairs at all.
Wow.
And they greeted me as I walked in, and they told me that Jack passed from an overdose. And so again, now it was 3 years, 10 months ago. And it was a complete surprise.
Who discovered Jack?
So a friend of his, who he would go to school with, they're going to go to school together, and she came to, was there and knocked on the door, and she looked in on him, and she thought he was just sleeping, and then she's like, Jack, Jack, and she went in and she found him, and then she called 911. So
That must have been extremely traumatic for her as well.
yes, it is. She, it's something that she's got to, has to face
Was she
every day.
aware that he was involved with heroin at all?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. No one's really come to me and said. I knew. Somebody must have known, because when you do, and I can kind of talk about, an individual who's a great athlete,
Right.
College athlete, and how his journey to heroin. And he shared with me that the first time he did heroin, he does it with another individual.
Okay.
So that individual shoots you up, and then you shoot the other individual up. And then from there, you migrate to doing it on your own. So Jack doing it on his own, he had to go through a process to get to that heroin use. And the majority of the individuals that have shared their stories with me, they started with an opioid prescription painkiller. The majority of the individuals I've chatted with, and that starts them, and they become addicted to that, and then it leads them on a path to where they put a needle in their arm. So Jack went on that path that we didn't see. And you can do heroin in your room in a quick amount of time, and he wakes up from doing it. He's groggy. Looks like he woke up from a nap.
Right.
And it's very difficult to walk into your child's room and catch him.
Right.
And so, but anyways, that's the story. And that was, again,
So
3 years, 10 months ago.
Was he had a tooth extraction or something like that put him on opioids?
We don't know. We don't know how it all started.
You're totally in the dark on that one.
Yeah, we just don't know, and I don't want to speculate.
Right. And the other thing that we're finding out now too is that the heroin that is bought on the street, nobody really knows the purity of it or anything like that. So obviously there was an autopsy.
Sure.
Was there any indication that the fentanyl was in the heroin, or
they didn't indicate that. It just says cause of death, acute heroin intoxication.
Okay.
And I have not inquired anything beyond that.
Yeah.
So I do know that when you look at the stats, the high percentage of the overdose deaths, and I want to say something like 3 out of 4, has an illicit type of additive to the heroin. And illicit means, it's not manufactured by a pharmaceutical company. It's put into the heroin without the user knowing.
Right.
Pharmaceutical companies will do a fentanyl, and from what I read with the CDC, it's for people with very severe, end of life cancer type of thing.
Right.
But then the non-pharmaceutical, the illicit, is getting into the heroin, and it's 50 times more potent than the heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. Wow. And so you've seen this increase in overdose deaths. Wow. In the year 2016, we lost 42,000 individuals in the United States. In the year 2017, it was 47,600. So Nashua has a population of a little over 88,000. So in 2 years, all of Nashua gone.
Right. It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Yeah. So when you came to this realization that your son had passed away, and what the cause was, what went through your mind? And your wife, obviously, you have got a very close family. You must have had some really intense type of discussions. What kinds of things go through your mind?
It's I can't really explain the depth of the sadness. So what I did is took my family to a therapist, and then we talked as a family. And then from there, each one of us went off with our own individual therapists. And the therapist that I was speaking with said to me, Kirk, a mother's grief is going to be different than a sibling's grief. You got to manage it separately. Your wife is going to be very sad and going to have a very difficult time. Your children, you got to encourage them to move on with their life and continue chasing your dreams and goals.
Right.
And they're going to want to help mom. And that's going to take them down that path. Try to separate that and try to get them to go continue their lives.
Right.
And so that's what we did. We sat down as a family and I said, look, I'm taking care of mom. I want you, Dan, to go back playing football in college. You, Carly, go back to dancing and going back to school. And then also what happened with us is we kind of just went our different ways. And we didn't really talk to each other other than through the therapy sessions. And so my therapist said, you got to put constraints around it. So, Carly, you got to be home by 9 o'clock. And you got to kind of have rules. And so that's what I did. And all of a sudden now we're having family dinners again on Sunday. You start doing those things again.
Right. Now, this was a tradition in your family to have the family dinners.
Oh, yeah.
On Sunday.
And we all cooked.
Oh.
Everyone in my family cooked. All
Good.
three of my children. We used to always cook together and just really, really enjoyed our time together. So that's kind of what happened.
You separated and then you started rebuilding.
And we're still
essence.
rebuilding.
Right.
And we're still rebuilding.
I don't imagine it's something that you ever totally lose in perspective. I mean, there's always going to be something that brings that up.
Yeah. And so I had a good friend of mine call me, and she lost her son to an accident some years prior to us. And she said, Kirk, you're going to be sad every day. Try not to make it every day or all day. So I said, all right. So I have this imaginary vault, and I'm the only one who has the key. And every day I open that vault, and I take that sadness out, and it's overwhelming. And no one sees it. My kids don't see it. My wife doesn't see it. And it just overwhelms you. It can be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. And then what I do is I take that sadness, I put it back into the vault, I close it, lock it, see you tomorrow.
So that's the way you deal with it. Do you do that at the end of the day? Or is it, I can't imagine that if you started the day that way, it would be really, really difficult to keep going forward.
Well,
but
you have to keep going forward.
Okay.
You have to continue, you have to, Jack would want us to move forward.
Right.
And so he would want us to get out there and share our story and save lives. Jack would not want other individuals to make the same mistake that he made. He loved people, he loved animals, he was fiercely loyal to his family, and he was fiercely loyal to his friends. So that's what he would want. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do.
So you've managed now to work through this. How long did it take you? Was it an extended period of time before you were able to start that building and looking forward?
Yes. So the first time I actually spoke, the superintendent of schools where Jack went to school, they reached out to me and they said, Kirk, would you be willing to speak at an event called Living in Plain Sight? And this organization called the CARE Coalition in West Springfield, that I'm also part of the board, they put together a mock teenager's room and put signs in it as to what to see with drug use. And they had it in a mall. So when you walked into the mall, it was right there. Mm-hmm. So they said, would you be willing to speak? First time I've ever spoken about it. So that was a year and a half after he passed. That's kind of when it really started to transition. And from there, I spoke, and they talked about, the room, and what do you see? And I said, well, I gotta share with you. It's the backpack. And we had multiple police chiefs there and mayors and a whole bunch of individuals. And I said, think about it. I said, 2 recovering addicts that I know told me that's where they keep their stuff. Because where is it? It's always with them. It's in the car with them. It's on their back with them. It's everywhere they go. That's where these 2 individuals said they keep their stuff.
Okay.
And people were like, never thought of that. And so that's kind of how it all started.
So that would be an indication to a family if they notice that their child always has that backpack with them. Is that something?
Well, they all tend to do that.
Yeah.
They all tend to, students all tend to have their backpack with them everywhere they go.
Well, especially when they're walking out the door. But I mean,
Sure.
Is this something that all of a sudden would he come downstairs and grab his backpack and take it upstairs?
He would never leave it.
He wouldn't leave it.
He would leave it. It'd be in the car.
Because I know for my grandchildren anyway, that their backpacks are at the front door when they come in, and they just sort of drop them and so forth. And
we didn't see any of that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
So you now have gotten to the point where you can start to look outward and see other things that are possibilities. What made you, as a family, start to talk about doing a run? Was that the first?
So then the speaking engagements started increasing. People call and say, Kirk, would you come speak to this class of students? And would you come speak to these students? Would you come to a gala, at a hospital's gala, and speak to everyone at the gala, the doctors and things? And it just evolved. You must be a good spontaneous speaker then to be able to put that together. And I don't know. But so I wasn't sleeping well. And a friend called me, a very, very religious friend of mine. And she said, Kirk, that's God and Jack coming to speak to you. Open up. Let them in. I said, okay. I started getting flooded with all sorts of stuff. Dad, you got to change your speech. Dad, you got to interview recovering addicts. Dad, you got to stop telling just my story. My story's sad. You got to tell other stories of hope where people survived and getting help. You got to get out in front of young adults in the communities and educate. You got to start doing these things. So all these things are coming to me. And so the first thing came to me was a foundation. I've never done anything like this. I'm not that smart. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do I set up a foundation, a nonprofit, and I'm hitting golf balls before a match. And a guy walks up to me, and I know him through golf, but not anything. And he goes, hey, I hear you're trying to do a 501c3 nonprofit. I said, yeah. He goes, well, I know how to do that. He goes, you want help? I said, sure. He volunteered. Accountants volunteered. Next thing you know, March of 2019, I get a letter from the IRS that we're an approved nonprofit 501c3. Now businesses can donate and have tax deductions, and you're legit. So that came in March. So we have this reservoir where we live. It's absolutely beautiful. You walk and the water's on both sides, and it's just breathtaking. And we spent a lot of time as a family there when the kids were young. It's right through the woods from our home. And Jack loved it there. So I get this thing in my head, let's have a walk called Jack's Walk. And we started with a run. And then as we're doing it, I get, no, Dad, a walk, because now kids will participate, everyone can participate with a run. It's, not everyone can run. So Jack's Walk came. So IRS approval in March, and Jack's Walk was in May. So we put together this walk in a very short period of time, and it was my family, my friends, and the community. It all came together, and everyone offering. And so we would have meetings every Wednesday night, and this person's taking on parking, this person's taking on signage, tickets, registration, and everyone took on a role. And the day of the walk, we had over 1,000 people.
So how did you advertise this? Was
So-
somebody?
So my nephew says, Uncle Kirk, I know how to do Facebook. Another gentleman says, hey, Kirk, I know how to do a website. Next thing you know, it's on. We got Jack Jonah Foundation website. We had to get a domain name. Jack Jonah Foundation was the domain name we got. We had a Facebook, and it just started getting pushed out. Next thing I know, this person goes, hey, I know the anchor at this TV station. I know this writer. Next thing you know, it's in the papers. I'm speaking and sharing it. The sheriff came and spoke. The district attorney came and spoke. Mayor of West Springfield came and spoke prior to the walk, and it just all came together. It was incredible, and it's a 3-mile walk, and so the foundation is honor, educate, support. Honor those that have passed along with their loved ones. Mm-hmm. Educate our young adults in our communities on the opioid crisis, and support those who are fighting the fight every day of addiction. Honor, educate, support. So with the walk, we had 15 pictures of individuals that have passed. Their families were gracious enough to reach out to me, and I was honored that they would do that. Uh-huh. And so I had, in honor of their name, their picture, the year born, the year passed. And we had these signs all along the walk. Okay. And families came in large groups wearing certain colors, and because they're really, I don't know of anything where there's an event where people who've lost their children to heroin.
Right.
You have other walks for other things.
Right.
But for me, meeting these individuals that were in the same situation as our family, it helped me tremendously.
Yes.
It gave me strength, it gave me guidance, and helped me continue on with the mission. So we honored. And then the educate piece, we had signs along the way, did you know? And in 2016, 42,000 have passed. And so as the people are walking with families, and it's fostering conversation amongst your loved ones, peers, your friends, your sports friends. And so people came, teams came. And then the very end of the walk, support. We had a picture clean for 7.5 years. There is hope. And that's where it ends. And so it was a very moving experience for my family. And our second walk will be May 9th of this year, and we're in the process of planning that.
Wow. And so is there a charge for the walk so that it goes to the foundation and you can help with other people?
Yeah, so we have free for age. I can't remember the age, but we had it free for kids because we want as many young adults there. So we didn't want to have any charges, and then for adults it was a charge of $10.
Yeah.
The main focus was to get the community together,
right,
and have this walk and honor, educate, and support.
Yeah.
And then what happened there is businesses said, hey, we'd like to donate this. And so a lot of businesses came forward and offered either their product or capital, financial support, people helping as volunteers. Because to have 1,000 people, you got to have a lot of volunteers.
Oh, exactly. I mean, and especially on a 3-mile walk, you've got to have water stations and so forth.
Restrooms,
like that. Right.
EMTs, we had to have everything. So it all came together. It was remarkable, and it was.
And 1,000 people came.
Yeah.
In a short period of time, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Well, and if you want more information, it is the jackjonahfoundation.com.
Yep.
And Kirk, you are the primary spokesperson. So if people want to know more about this, they can contact you as well.
Yep,
right?
and that information's right on the website.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep,
good.
Sure, absolutely. And if I can't speak, I have what's happening now is people are volunteering. And we did a movie showing, and I couldn't go, and we had several volunteers. A gentleman spoke, and my brother will speak, and My daughter's going to be doing some speaking as well, and
I was going to ask you if your other family members were getting involved as well.
they are, and it's taking them their own time.
Yeah.
And I just say it's whatever you want to do.
Right.
I say you're welcome to join me, and if you don't, that's okay too. We're all different.
Right.
And so some, are saying I want to go to this event, and so my children are going to every a lot of events that they can. The field hockey team had a game, and my son always gave me tie-dye shirts and for Father's Day, and so tie-dye is the theme of the foundation. It's a beautiful color, and both teams wore tie-dye shirts that they made.
Okay.
And they practiced wearing them, and then they made one for our family. And my son Dan, I couldn't go to it. I was traveling. He went and he spoke.
Excellent.
And so that's kind of what we're doing.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Kirk, Jonah, for honoring Jack in this way. And we are going to take a short break, and then we'll come back after that, after the break, and continue on, because there's much, much more to what you've been doing. And it's very fascinating to me how this has all come together. It's a miracle in reality, because this is not something that you have embarked on and said, oh, well, I know that I can do this. Yep. It was something that came knocking on your door. It sounds like where someone's coming and saying, would you mind addressing this situation?
Yep.
And you must speak in a way that is extremely moving to people. And so we are on the Chic, Chattin. I'm Karen Testerman, your host, and we've been talking with Kirk Jonah, the father of Jack Jonah, who has established the Jack Jonah Foundation to honor his son, to educate others about heroin addiction, and at the same time to turn around and support those who are trying to come off of that addiction, and to support their family members as well. So we will be back after a short break.
Headquarters, this is District 6. I need a detective, supervisor, and possible 040 paramedics are on scene. Yeah, can you talk to the supervisor? Let him know it's one of ours down here.
Who is it? Is it my daughter?
No,
Let me look. Just let me look. Is that my daughter?
I'm just trying to get my head around this. How does it get from here's this drug to using?
Dad!
I mean it. I want to know.
No, I know.
It's crazy, because I feel like I just met you, but I didn't meet you because I just met you, but it feels like I met you. That's what it feels like.
Nice to meet you, Abby.
Charlie! Charlie! Charlie!
Is this when Jack comes to talk to you? You haven't talked to him?
No, not yet.
Who's it?
I just don't know who I am anymore, or why I'm here, really.
I just wish I could see him one more time.
Dad, is he up there? He's not up there, Dad.
It's almost like a home. Just for us.
You believe in angels?
Hi. I'm Jack.
Well, welcome. And this is Chic Chatting. I'm Karen Testerman, your host. And my guest today is Kirk Jonah, who is the father of Jack Jonah. And the trailer you just saw is really a culmination of some of the activities that have gone on, and some of the things that the Jack Jonah Foundation does. Now, so how did you come about making this movie?
So during the walk, a good friend of mine approached me after the walk, said, hey, Kirk, the walk was on a Saturday. You mind if I come by your house on Monday? I said, sure. So he goes, yeah, I just want to, lifelong best friend. We've been together since 5 years of age. And so he comes to the home. He said, Kirk, I've been speaking with some individuals, and they'd like to do a movie regarding your story. I said, okay. It's not my decision. So as a family, we got together and Mike had an outline, and we talked about it. And my kids are like, okay, and they're talking, and 'cause it's going to bring back some stuff, tough scenes.
Right.
It's going to be a movie, though. It's not going to be a biography. And my wife and my kids said, this is bigger than us. Let's do it. And we're going to save lives. So I said, okay. So Mike Turville wrote a book, My Promise to Astrid, and it's about an angel in his life. And JC Films, Jason Campbell, did the movie. And so we got on the phone with Jason Campbell and the director, and we talked at length about it. And then they eventually came to our home, met with us, went through our home, went into my son Jack's room, and we talked about the script and things. And they realized that Carly, my youngest daughter, and Jack were best friends. And so the producer said, Carly, would you mind if you and I chat a lot over the next couple months so that I get the character of Jack correctly, family dynamics, things like that. And so the script started getting written. It's going back and forth amongst all of us. My son's involved. My daughter's involved. No, this is great. Add to this. The editor is making his everyone's making their input. And Dean Cain was gracious enough to take on the movie as lead actor. And it all came together. And a pretty short period of time, we had, it was all filmed in our area, in the Western Mass area. We had all sorts of people coming in and going. And to do a movie, you're up early in the morning. You have volunteers at your home putting together, where people need to be at what times, where you're going to film. What happened last night? We couldn't finish the filming because it rained. We're going to go back there on such and such a day, and coordinating. I mean, we had 200-300 extras in the movie.
Wow.
So a lot of coordination. But prior to that, we had to do where you come and you casting call. And so that went from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Hundreds and hundreds of people came. And you did that all day, and then you're building your characters.
Were you doing this at your house?
The movie, the casting call was done at a high school.
Okay.
Because we needed a very large area. But the movie was filmed in the area, but a lot of the meetings would take place at our home in the morning and afterwards.
Did you feel like you were living in a fishbowl?
It was. We had lots of people staying at our home. Our neighbors were gracious enough to allow people to stay there. People stayed at other people's homes. A car dealership, police, Jeb Police and his wife, Tara, they gave us cars to use to cart people around.
Wow.
And local businesses donated lunch every day. People would bring lasagna over at night and pasta dishes and salads. And it was a huge town of Agawam, very involved, other towns, other mayors. It was just a very, very large community involvement, as well as my friends volunteering, as well as my family. It was a very, very busy, incredible time.
So now the movie's made.
Yep.
And it's being shown. And you said, I think in our conversation earlier, you said that Amazon Prime has picked it up now.
Yep. So we did the premiere of the movie, and about over 1,500 people came to the premiere.
And when was that?
That was, I want to say, was it September? Everything's kind of a blur, so please bear with me. September, October.
In the fall of this last year.
Yeah, and we had over 1,500 people. And then from there, we had it where you purchase it on the website.
Uh-huh.
You can download it or you can buy it on the website. And then now Amazon Prime has it. So if you're a Prime member, it's free to watch. You can stream it. You can order it. We have other distribution channels that will be coming out throughout the year.
Uh-huh.
And it's been getting a lot of engagement, a lot of activity, a lot of positive feedback on the quality of the movie.
And so, other than commercially, how are you using this movie?
So, a lot of ways. I've had a group of individuals that they're recovering addicts, and they watch movies every Saturday, and they're watching it in all these. They have multiple locations throughout New England, and they're showing it. They showed it to one location. They get the feedback, and then they would email me questions about the movie. You know, what went on? You know, did this happen to you? And things like that. And then it's being shown there. And then I've had schools purchase it, showing it to their student body. I've had I've families purchase it, calling me saying they showed it with their children. And so that's kind of the feedback. And now with it being on Amazon Prime, it's really getting a lot of people are watching it.
Publicity.
Yeah.
So now when the schools show it, you will sometimes go and actually talk to the student body, right?
Yep.
Okay. And when you do, you have, is there an opportunity for students to ask questions or?
Yep.
And so what kind of questions do you get?
So you get a lot of really, really tough questions. I had one girl come to me. He said, Mr. Jonah, I have a friend that's using heroin, but I'm afraid I don't want to tell his dad because I don't want to hurt his dad. I said, okay. I said, well, wouldn't you rather have him hurt for a short period of time than like me for the rest of my life? And she went, you're right. And off she went with the guidance. And hopefully, I had another young lady come to me, said, Mr. Jonah, my mom did heroin, and I lived alone with her, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be removed from the home. I didn't want to be removed from my mom.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, are you getting, and my mom passed.
Okay.
So I said, okay, are you getting help? And she said, no. I said, well, I'm 59 and I get professional help. When you think you might want to get help? She says, you think so? I said, yeah. She goes, okay. Off she went. Things like that. I get questions of when, if I don't want to squeal. I don't want to say anything because you don't do that.
Right.
I said, okay, let me tell you a story about two brothers. One brother called mom and dad and said, Mom, Dad, my brother's using heroin. Mom says, not our son. He's not using heroin. What are you talking about? Oh, I'm telling you, Mom. So she started kind of snooping around, and she went to this organization called Learn to Cope, a great organization, and they kind of helped her look for signs, gave her Narcan in case they came across something. Well, sure enough, they came home. Their son was in the bathroom. The door was locked. They couldn't get in. They kicked it down. He's overdosed. They had the Narcan, and it revived him. He's alive today, and he's clean. He's recovered. He's recovering, I should say. So I say to the kids, I go, how do you think that brother using heroin thought of his brother when he told on him? They go, not good. I go, no, not good, right? I go, how do you think they are today? I go, they're best friends. He saved his life. They go, oh. I go, and the theme of the movie is make courage contagious. So I said, have the courage to speak up if someone you know is using an opioid drug. Go to someone that you trust in confidence and let them know. Have the courage to make the right decision, better decisions. And what I'll do when I speak to the kids is right before the event ends, I put something up on the screen. And I go to them, what is it? And they go, birth certificate. I look closer. I go, death certificate. I go, this is what you get as a parent 6 weeks after you bury your child. I go, look at the reason for death, the cause of death. Acute heroin intoxication. I make these kids read it out loud. When you leave here, you may not remember me. You may not remember Jack. But you'll remember that death certificate. That picture will stay in your head. So when you're out in the world and you're faced with a challenging decision, think about that death certificate. And hopefully it'll give you the courage, the strength to make the right decision. Because today, kids don't have the luxury, young adults don't have the luxury of making a bad decision. A bad decision today can be life-altering.
Very true.
And so those are the things I do.
Now, when you're going out and speaking to adults,
Yep.
do you get a sense of that, well, that's somebody else's kid that would never be my child? Or do you get people who really are seeking and looking for answers?
You get both. Okay? Because we're trying to break that stigma. It's not the person at the end of the street hold the sign. It's people like Jack Jonah. Good homes, good families. The 15 individuals that we honored on the walk, they're all good kids. This heroin became a sliver of their life. And they got there because of this opioid prescription drug. They didn't want to be heroin addicts. It got there. So when I speak to adults, I share with them that story of the two brothers. I share our story. And so I try to teach them here's another story for you. We're having a walk, a woman comes and she's walking and she lost her child. Another woman's walking with her. It's a long walk and they're talking and she talks about how her child got addicted to opioids from a dental procedure. And it led him on his journey to using heroin, and he passed away. This woman her son was gonna have his wisdom teeth removed in like a month. She didn't know what to do. So I said, it's not my decision, but I said, if you're gonna bring the opioid into your home, you gotta control it. It's like bringing a loaded gun into your home. You lock it up. You gotta lock this up, and you gotta control what you give your child. Don't leave it around. So she decided to give him one after surgery, one the next day, and then she took the rest of them, and I put this up when I speak, where to go, and she went to our local police station where they have a medical dispensary, no questions asked, and you just get rid of your opioids in it, and it's gone. Now it's out of the house. So when I speak to adults, I say, when you go home, you go to your cabinet, and you take those prescription opioids that you do not need and get rid of them. Get them off the street. And I tell a story about a grandson with his grandmother, helping out his grandmother one day a week. Oh, what a great young child. He was grabbing the prescription opioids. And I said, when you go home, how many of you got all sorts of prescriptions? Get rid of them. Get them out of your home.
Where's the best place to get rid of those?
So you can just go online how to get rid of it. And a lot of police stations, your local police stations will have a medical drop-off box. I know CVS has stuff, Walmart or Walgreens. So a lot of these, they'll offer ways to get rid of them.
Right. I know that in my town, for example, there's a drug task force that was formed, and they actually have, I think it's biannual collection of bring your drugs, drop them off, and they work with the police department to do that.
Yeah, and I know like where I'm from, our police department has it right in their main. You walk right in, it's right there. Okay. And so just get rid of them.
Number one. Yeah,
because again, as I mentioned, the majority of the individuals that I've chatted with or the family members that shared their stories, they started with a prescription opioid. Like this great athlete had a shoulder injury playing college ball, and he started taking a pain medicine, opioid, and then he started sniffing Percocets. He cut them up and sniffing them, and then he started doing 20 pills a day. Yep, he sniffed 20 pills a day. Wow. And so, but your brain gets immune. It's saying, I need more, I need more, I need more. So you go from taking them where you get addicted, your brain saying, I need it more, then you go to sniffing it, and then you start doing 10, 15, 20 a day. Then from there, you go to heroin, and you start sniffing heroin. This individual was sniffing 20 bags of heroin a day. And he went from, he started becoming very isolationist. And he then, from there, again, your brain gets immune. We got to keep going here. And now you go to shooting. And so his first time he shot with an individual, boom, boom. And then eventually he went off on his own.
I see. So where did they get the money for this?
So this individual robbed. He stole from friends, stole from family, went in the stores, robbed stores to support it. So then you realize that when you're sniffing at $20, $30 a pill, you're doing 20 a day, heroin, much cheaper. So
Alan, I think I heard from a police officer that it was like $5 a hit on heroin, which is really inexpensive.
I've heard even lower than that. But yeah, so they make that transition. It's cheaper, but then they just become,
So how did they get it from the powder form into an injectable form?
So I'm not an expert on any of this. I just kind of share stories of what people share with me. But
that just occurred to me right now.
So I don't know how they what the water, and I don't know. I don't want to. I don't really
want to speculate on. It just occurred to me that usually when you see heroin or they talk about it on a news program or something like that, you usually see it in a powder form, and obviously if they're injecting it, it has to be in a liquid form. So there must be some transition. I know that in the meth labs and so forth that they cook that sort of thing, and then that's how they get it. So, wow. So now you've got the foundation. You're going out. You're speaking to anyone who will invite you to speak. And they get in touch with you through the Jack Jonah Foundation.
Yes, they do. Yep.
And that website's set up so that they can do that.
Yep.
Is there a charge for having you come to speak?
There's not. I just request make a donation to the foundation if you'd like. It's up to them. Our goal is to get in front of many individuals, and again, that educate, because that's where we feel as a foundation we can have our impact. Just think about if I spoke to 100 adults in a room, I've spoken to 600. If they all went home and took whatever prescription opioid they had, or if they didn't have any, but a percentage of that number does.
Right.
And if they take them and get rid of them, we did something.
Right.
We saved possibly a life down the road.
Right.
And if we just keep educating and on that, we can save lives.
Have you heard from anyone in your travels and so forth that says, Kirk, thank you so much because you have saved my life from going down this road?
I have, yes. I had an individual reach out to me. Kirk, I have a friend that needs help. What can we do? And I provide the information to him, and off I go. I don't, some time passed, and I had an individual that really wanted to get engaged with the walk. And they share with me that information I gave them, that the loved one of theirs is now in a rehab and her life was saved. But they didn't know where to go. Yeah. They didn't know where to turn. And I said, call Learn to Cope. They called right away, and they got the help they needed. So the individual with the son with the dental procedure, but only gave two, and then got rid of the rest. That's a person that we know won't become an addict.
Right.
And I have others. And
So do you have organizations and yeah, I mean, you've had obviously supporters and so forth that come and help you with the foundation and help you get the movie going. Do you have organizations that are counselors and supporters that come to you and say, hey, this is what we do, this is our support system?
Yep. And so they'll come to the walk and they'll have tables. And they'll have multiple tables. We have a table with Narcan where you can get Narcan. And we have various individual groups that are there with their organizations. And then people now, when they come to the walk, they're getting educated and they have resources of where they could go. So we're trying to continuously push that out and share with it. And then when we go to other communities, for instance, we'll be going to a community, the goal there is to bring these local resources together at the movie premiere in that community. And then people will get to know what's in their community that they can turn to in confidence if they come across something or they need to, turn for help.
Good.
So,
Excellent.
yeah.
So if someone is watching today and they want to, and they think this is a great idea, they'd like to get their high school to air the movie or something like that, what's the best way for them to engage that possibility?
So they can go on Amazon and download the movie and they can stream it. Most schools, what they like to do is they like to bring all the kids in for like a 90-minute session. Instead of having to go to the rooms TVs, they like to bring them together. And so they'll do half the school in the morning and half the school in the afternoon, and the kids will watch it. And then, or they can go to the foundation, JackJonahFoundation.com, reach out to me, and a volunteer can reach out back and say, here, Kirk could be available this date, or somebody can be available that date. I have a lot of other things that I do as well, and this foundation is really growing. So we need to manage that as well because there's a huge responsibility to continue to share this message and save lives.
Right. So what's the one thing that you want our viewers to remember as they think about this and as they go forward?
I would say that we never thought this would happen to our family. So really, really be on the lookout. I try to think back at what did I miss as a father? What didn't see? And he was very early on in the process. I mean, he worked his way to doing heroin. So there's a process of time to get there. But just, if they start becoming isolated, maybe a couple friends, one friend, maybe not being with the same group they used to be with, I'm thinking back on that. Just be really engaged with your children at all times.
And then, if you're a friend of a friend, whatever, and you see something going on, say something.
Have the courage to speak up. Have that courage. Have that strength. Someone in confidence, someone that you trust, and please share it. Whether it's a guidance, somebody, you have to come forward. Because if you don't, it takes using it one time, and that person can be gone forever.
And then you have to, if you're the one, you have to live with that.
You have to live with that.
So this has been Chic Chattin with Kirk Jonah of the Jack Jonah Foundation, JackJonahFoundation.com. And I am Karen Testerman, your host. Thank you so much for joining us.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.